Hello and welcome to Form Add-Ons. Hopefully you've watched basic forms or introduction to new forms prior to this webinar. If not, you may want to go back and review those. However, if you are pretty familiar with forms and you're just looking to spruce up your skills, this is definitely the right place to be, and you can always go back and watch those if you feel that you need to after you have seen this. So let's jump right in. We're going to be talking about form add-ons. We're going to talk about what is an add-on, where and how to get add-ons, the difference between question add-ons and response add-ons, and some examples of both. And then we're going to talk just about a little bit about some tips and tricks for using form add-ons. So, if you've never used an add-on before, add-ons are extra tools that literally add on capabilities or value to your form. And so they're just little extra tools that you can completely customize. So you may have different add-ons than someone else because you use this add-on for your particular job description, and they may have different ones than you do. So they're completely customizable, completely up to the user, but they all add some sort of capability to your form. So if you're wondering how to install them, it's super easy. There's no, disk to install, there's no update, there's no anything like that. It all happens on the back end of Google, and we'll look at some of those examples throughout this webinar. But in order to install an add-on, what you're going to do is you are going to navigate to your the puzzle is where your add-ons live. You may not have the puzzle, so you would need to go to your three little dots and go to where it says add-ons. Once you click that, the add-ons store opens. I say store loosely, everything in here is free. There are some in-app purchases, but we'll talk about that. To install, you simply click anywhere it says free. So I'll choose one in just a second. Here we go. That looks good. I'm going to click free. It'll say, is this okay for us to put on your Google? Sure, allow. And then now that will live underneath my puzzle piece. Got it. So that's how you install an add-on. They all live underneath your puzzle piece. Again, if you do not have a puzzle piece at this time on your forms, simply means you haven't installed an add-on. So you would again navigate to your three little dots and install your add-ons. So we're going to talk about different add-ons today. Now, you'll notice on your form you have a questions and a responses tab right at the top of your form, at the top of the white space there. So there are question add-ons and there are response add-ons. We're going to start with talking about question add-ons. Question add-ons are add-ons that give capability to something that has to do with the question portion of your form. So let's look at some of those examples. Again, I'm going to navigate to my puzzle piece. If you don't have the add-ons, you would go to the Get Add-ons area under the three dots. I'm going to start with Choice Eliminator 2. I'm going to configure it. Choice Eliminator 2 has a little warning here, but it basically says use drop-down instead of multiple choice. You can use multiple choice, but sometimes if someone is doing the form at the exact same time, you may have some issues. So what Choice Eliminator does, it eliminates choices. So what does that mean? That means that, for example, on my test question, I have choose what team you want to be on. Well, maybe I only want to have 10 kids on each team. So I can actually limit the number of people who can choose that choice. So after the 10th person chooses that choice, it would simply go away. This is great for potluck, for anytime you have somebody signing up and you want to limit the number of responses you're getting, you can actually do that. Now this is on a drop down, not a multiple choice. You can do it on multiple choice, but if you're having everyone do the form at the same time, you can run into some issues. So again, please choose your team. Now if 10 people choose Cardinals, the next person that goes would see that. Remember, that is on a drop down, not a multiple choice. You can do it on a multiple choice, but you could get glitches and have an extra person or two. Okay? So, excuse me, we're going to look at another add-on. And the next add-on we're going to look at is email notifications for forms. And we're going to create an email notification. Guess what this one does? Oh, there was an update. Fantastic. Great. Every once in a while you'll see an update. This is how it works. Boom. Done. No waiting forever. So to do an email notification, you would need to put the sender's full name. This is great if you want to let other people know that someone has done your form. So let's say that as a team, I've created the form, but I want other people on my team to know. This is where I could put those emails in. This is also where I could change my .net to my .org so that I would actually receive an email from this form. I can also have the respondent notified, but only if I have their email as a question. If I do not have their email as a question, I'm going to be out of luck because I would not have an email address to send to them. Then you would simply create the role, it would save your configuration, and then it would work. Now there is an upgrade on this. If you're going to be sending more than 50 emails a day, you're probably going to have to pay some money there. This doesn't happen too often, every once in a while if it's a very, very used form. The next one we're going to talk about is form limiter. So form limiter allows you to set limits on how long and how many times the form can be taken. This limit can be set on a date and time. So for example, this form cuts off at midnight. It can be set on the maximum, so you just put the date and time in there, and then you can put any response that you would like. You can also set a number of responses, so if 100 people do the form, that's it. Or you can hit the destination cell value. So once we've reached this number in this cell, the form would cut off. This is good for like money, if you want a sum, you want to reach that much money. All right, the next one we're going to talk about is form notifications. And this one works almost exactly like email notifications, except for I can choose to notify myself or notify the respondents. Again, I must have an email question to respond to the respondents. If I have not asked them their email, I cannot use that one. And last but not least, we're going to look at GMath for forms. This is basically for math teachers or anyone who's wanting to write some sort of math expression within the form. It will allow you to do that and also allow answers in math format. So that's a brief look at some question add-ons. Again, please review this or rewind if you're old school. If you would like, there is a recap at the end. And all of these add-ons are free within the add-on store, which if you don't have a puzzle piece, you'll need to navigate to your 3 dots and get add-ons. So the next type of add-on that we're going to talk about are response add-ons. So response add-ons work off of your response sheet, okay? So I would need to, first off, navigate to my responses tab and open my response sheet. So once I open that response sheet, you're going to see at the top where File, Edit, View, Insert Format, all of those things that are normally on my sheet, I have an Add-ons tab. So I would click on the Add-ons tab and you'll see that my add-ons are there. I can also get add-ons at the bottom of that tab as well. So I'm going to start with Form Mule. Form Mule, I'm going to launch it, allows me to customize respondents based on what they have responded. Now it's a little different than email notifications because it's based on whatever has been answered on the form. So it's not based on what the form questions are, it's based on what the answers are. So this is kind of spinning around a little bit. This may happen to you every once in a while. Things get tired. So simply go back and just, there we go, start it again. It should pop right up just like that, okay? So it's spinning, all right, fabulous. So I am going to first select the sheet. You'll notice that I am Form Responses 1, as is shown here. So if you've renamed your tab, you need to choose that. And I'm going to turn it on based on the trigger. So basically, once somebody hits submit, that's my trigger. So once I hit submit, that's when my Form Mule is going to kick into action. All right, so that looks good. I could log a case number for each one or URL. I don't normally do that, completely up to you. Then I'm going to go to the template. You notice I can have a bunch of different templates. And so I can name them. So I can say, okay, if you chose yes, you're going to get this answer. If you chose no, you're going to get this answer. And then I would save my template settings. Most of the time you may only have one, so you can just send it for all rows. If not, you can say, if they said yes, you're going to get this response. If they said no, and you can choose that. I'm going to say all rows just for this example. And then it's going to pop up over here and say, okay, so you want to do this, you've saved it, we're going to edit the template. So this is where we'd actually create what the person receives. Remember, this is based on their answers. So I would say to, well, this is to, wherever I have the first and last name and then maybe their email. I'd probably put their email in there actually. The subject could be anything. So I basically go over on the right, choose the questions, and I can basically customize the email based on what they have said. So and so, thank you for, fill it your choice response of, and then choose the you selected, and then I can choose the team that they selected over here. I'd probably take out the first part so it's just their answer, so it doesn't say please choose your team. It says you've chosen the team Crows or Cardinals or what have you. But I can customize the email based on their answers, which is really nice. It's a little different than email notifications based on the questions, because in that case I'm just putting the questions in. In this case I'm putting the answers that they actually chose. I can completely say whatever I need to in here. The only thing I can't do is change the font or bold or underline. It will preview them, and so I can see at this time, hey, I'm going to have an error. Guess why? No one has answered my form. So sad. So I can send those now if I'd like to, or just leave, since it's pretty much. You'll see a column there that will show you when the email has been sent. If you see an error there, it's probably that the person filling out the form may have accidentally had a spelling error. The next one we're going to look at is remove duplicates. Never guess what this one does. Removes duplicates. So if you have a very large response sheet and you think maybe people have done it twice, you can actually go in there, select the sheet range. I like to make sure A through H. Yep, those are all my columns. And I can actually then say, okay, I want any duplicates and first occurrences, anything that's unique. So if there's only one of something, and then I can choose to eliminate. So if there's more than one, first name and last name. So let's say, John Smith, I've got 5 of them. I can actually say highlight all of those with blue. It does not remove them immediately. It just shows you where they are, which is really nice. And then you can determine whether or not, obviously I have no duplicates because no one has taken my form, but you have that option. And remember, you would get add-ons here. The add-ons on your response sheet install the exact same way that add-ons in the question responses. In fact, it looks almost exactly like the same form, the same store, excuse me. But you have the option to also search by category if you would like. All right, so just a quick recap. We're going to look at a few things here. So what is an add-on? Add-ons are extra tools that add value to your forms. To install an add-on, if you're in the question portion of the form, you can visit the 3 dots that are to the right of the send button and go to get add-ons. In the response sheet, you would need to go to add-ons and scroll down to the bottom of that tab to get add-ons. Question add-ons, remember, work based on the questions of your form. The ones that we covered within this particular webinar were Choice Eliminator 2, which allow you, using a drop-down menu question, to eliminate the questions once they are reach a certain number that you've determined. For example, I'm having kids choose teams. Once 10 kids are on a team, that team goes away. So you don't wind up with 20 kids as Cardinals and 5 kids as Blue Jays or what have you. So you can do the same thing with potluck. So you don't wind up with 25 napkin bringers and 1 bag of chips. So completely up to you. Email notifications, again, notify upon form submission. You can have it notify you or other members of your team. You can also notify the respondent if you have asked the respondent their email question. Form limiter will allow you to set limits on when the form can be taken, either by date and time, by number of submissions, or by a cell reaching a certain limit. Form notifications, a little different than email notifications, simply because it allows you to notify either one and customize the message. They're very similar, little differences, completely personal preference. GMath allows you to write math expressions within the question. Response add-ons, the two that we talked about, were Form Mule, which allow you to customize an email based on the answers. Remember, these are all based on the answers or responses that you get. And then remove duplicates will point out any duplicates that you have in your form, just to make sure that maybe you have people that have done a couple of different submissions or something like that, and you just want to make sure that you're not doubling up on something. Okay? So before we leave, I want to talk a little bit about some tips and tricks for using form add-ons. Number 1 is know your question type. If you are wanting to use form limiter, make sure that form or that question is a drop-down. I would also highly encourage you to use drop-downs simply because it uniform or creates a uniform response to a question. For example, let's say that I ask what high school you attend, and you attend Legacy High School, and I allow that to be a short answer question. I could have that question be responded to as Legacy, LHS, Legacy High School, Mansfield Legacy High School, and on and on and on. So let's just make sure that anytime you can, that you use something like a multiple choice or a drop down where you're going to have a uniform answer. So every time someone wants to choose Legacy, it's already there for them, and they can choose it in that way. So it's going to create a uniform response sheet so that when you're sorting or you are going through any sort of data analysis, it's going to be much easier on your end. Make sure that you check the status on everything. You make sure that it's working. You go through, if you're using Form Mule, you make sure the emails are being sent. That you make sure that everything is continuously running, because oftentimes you may think that all the formulas are going through, and you go through and you're like, why isn't this one? And it's simply because of somebody has put MIAL instead of mail in their email address. And sometimes you got to turn it off and back on. The universal technology troubleshooting. So let's say that my Form Mule stops working or my choice eliminator is not working. Sometimes if you go in there, refresh the settings, just take a look at it again, turn it off, turn it back on, it'll magically stop working. That's my expert tech advice, is always turn it off and turn it back on. We all get tired, and sometimes technology does too. The other thing is see what's out there. There are always new and improved add-ons. Look through the store, use the search box. If you think, I wish this form did this, or I wish I could do this with the response sheet, visit the add-on store and just type in what you'd like to do, and you may see that someone has already had that same issue and created a solution for you. So I hope that was helpful for you today, and that you got a little bit of it out of this. Remember, the next step is to complete the quiz if you're wanting to receive credit for this. I appreciate your time today, and good luck with your add-ons.